Okay, we've done the chess game of moving bikes around. Finally get this thing up on the lift. And here's the, we gotta swap out the front isolastic here. You can see how loose that is. Focus. There you go. See how loose that is. So we're going in there. We've got to knock this hardware off. Big center bolt and the two mounts there. Mount bolts there. We can take the whole mount out and do it on the bench. Should be easy, right? Well, clearance is an issue. This side's easy to get to. Walk around the other side. Knocking that bolt through is going to hit the pipe on this side. There just isn't enough clearance, so we'll probably have to take this pipe off and do some other machinations to get that out of there, but that's all part of the deal. And so rather than bore you with a lot of wrench turning, we're gonna end here and show you the next phase when we get to it. So thanks. Wait for the next one. Okay, we've done the chess game of moving bikes around. Finally get this thing up on the lift. And here's the, we gotta swap out the front isolastic here. You can see how loose that is. Focus. There you go. See how loose that is. So we're going in there. We've got to knock this hardware off. Big center bolt and the two mounts there. Mount bolts there. We can take the whole mount out and do it on the bench. Should be easy, right? Well, clearance is an issue. This side's easy to get to. Walk around the other side. Knocking that bolt through is going to hit the pipe on this side. There just isn't enough clearance, so we'll probably have to take this pipe off and do some other machinations to get that out of there, but that's all part of the deal. And so rather than bore you with a lot of wrench turning, we're gonna end here and show you the next phase when we get to it. So thanks. Wait for the next one. Okay, kids, for you following along at home, here's how it works. You take all the two bolts on the engine. You got that through bolt that goes across here. You can find it here. Here we go. This big long sucker that goes through here. You can see the corrosion on this bolt. Sometimes they get corroded into the metal insert in here, and you've really got to beat this thing apart. But in this situation, focus. Sort of. Anyway, you get the idea. You can wind up with corrosion on there, and it can be a bitch to get apart. As I said before, clearance is an issue on getting that bolt all the way out through this hole. To slide it all the way out, you have to get rid of that exhaust pipe, this has got the original crossover exhaust, which can make it a little bit of a chore to get apart and back together. But just a little fun fact, the only reason Norton went to this crossover exhaust when they did is for noise abatement. They were getting it through regulations at the time, and that takes some of the snap out of the exhaust. So that's why they did that. You know, there's lots of stories, oh, it improved the mid-range, and, you know, neuritis, neuralgia was improved, and chilblains, and you name it. But it was noise abatement. That's why they did it. So anyway, we'll move on to the next phase here at some point. But there's your mount out on the deck. Here is the shims that you use to tighten it up if you're using the antiquated original system. We're going to go to the vernier type, which they started using on the Mark III, but that goes on the end, and that takes up the slack in your mount. So there you go. On to the next part. Okay, here we have the mount off, cleaning it up a little. Not as grubby as I expected, but here you can see that this side here is really way off center. What happens is the weight of the engine and suspension is on this all the time. So you can see what it does to it. It really mashes down the rubber. It's way off center. This side not as bad, but you can see that over time it gets grubby. But we'll go on to the next phase, and you'll see that there are the limiting rubbers, and then there's these rubbers that hold it in place, and that's how the whole thing works. All right, on to the next one. All right, take 4 or whatever. Here's the original setup. When you take this thing apart, you have 3 pieces. This locates the whole unit inside the tube. This part slides in, and it limits the total travel of the engine and suspension and everything. So basically this will only let it go so far. That's what the whole idea is. It moves, but it can only go so far. All right, the new unit, Mark III style unit, comes all in one piece. Makes it easier to work with when you're putting it together. Put this abutment, and you have your PTFE washer. See how there's a flat on there. All right, screw this in. This goes all the way onto the tube. Then you tighten up your Allen nut, your grub screw, Allen screw. That holds everything in place. Then when you're adjusting it, you go to the other side, turn this cap however far you want to get your clearance. The PTFE washer is in there for a little lubrication and stabilization. They do last a lifetime, but they come with new ones. But anyway, the adjuster goes on the right side as you're sitting on the bike, and that's where you get your clearance. This one gets screwed all the way down, doesn't move. So you can put a drill bit in there, the end of a drill bit, to turn that, or whatever device you want so you don't ruin it. Stainless steel, pretty rugged, but it's a pretty simple system. And we'll go on to the next part. This was used on the Mark III and later. This can be retrofitted to the earlier bikes. It fits the tube without cutting it. The early ones you had to cut to put the vernier style in there, but these are easy to work with, and we'll go on to the next. Okay, here we are. We have the new unit pushed into the tube, and it's a really tough fit. I mean, these things, the rubber gizmos that go in there, this whole thing pushes in there pretty hard. So it's soft enough, but you got to maintain pressure on it while you're squeezing it in there. I got some rubber lube here, some fancy schmancy Italian stuff, P80. I forget where I got it, but anyway, it's made for that kind of deal. You want something. You don't want a petroleum product because that will dissolve the rubber eventually, and you're back where you started. But anyway, this is the thing pushed in there. If I told you how I did it, yeah, I'd have to kill you. But anyway, use your own method. But basically, you're squeezing 5 pounds of crap in a 2-pound bag. So some rubber lube, hold tension on it, squeeze it in there, work it in with screwdrivers. Eventually, you'll get there. But then you wind up with this. Here, we got the adjuster, the non-adjuster side, I should say. Your abutment plate goes on there. Then you got your PTFE washer. Snap together. You're going to thread that on. And basically, turn it on as far as it'll go, which it is right there. Then you tighten your nut. She's not going anywhere. You can see there's a gap there, but once you put the adjuster side on, it's going to pull the tube over, and you're going to, after I kick the camera, you're going to be able to see that this tightens up. Okay, there's your gap. When you put your other side on, you tighten it up. Eventually you want 6 to 9 thousandths. 6 is kind of snug, so a balance between the two is good. But we'll throw this thing on here to show you how it works. This goes on there. It's kind of a crappy fit. Here we go. Then you put your adjuster side on. If we can. That's going to take all the slop out of it. You install it, and then you back it off. They say 1.5, 1.5 for these round gizmos here. But basically, you stick a feeler gauge in here with the engine shifted over, so you get a total of 6 to 9 thousandths between the two pieces. So, can you see see that? You can see this pushes over. Can you see the gap in there? Okay. You get your PTFE washer in there, so against the cardboard it's hard to see, but put a piece of paper. Is that better? Yeah, you can see a little better there. So tighten that up, you reduce the clearance, put your feeler gauge in there, and you're done. So anyway, we'll put this back in and go from there. Okay, just to be clear, you can set this on the bench. You don't have to put it in the bike. Just, I don't know if you can see my hand. I'm pushing pretty damn hard on this thing to shove it over to one side. And that's an 8/1000 feeler gauge. Won't fit. Try a 6. All right, so if I push this all the way over hard, see my hand pushing on this. We've got a snug 6/1000 there. So that's pretty much all you need. Then you can put your rubber boot on the end and button it up. When you clamp the bolt together, this holds everything tight, and it won't move till you loosen the bolt. And you can do it on the bike. You can turn those, turn the cap and get your adjustment without having to take everything all apart again. So this is a good setup, and this was used on the Mark IIIs, like I said. So, all right, just to kind of clarify that, get your 6 in there. You're good. Snug 6. Can you see that? Yeah. Right. Stupid hand out of the way. Get your feeler gauge. Bingo. Get your clearance. You're good. Okay, here we are with the unit back in place. No black magic here. Just a matter of getting the bolts back in. It can be a little fussy getting that mount back in sometimes because well, the frame is kind of a flexible item. So, but anyway, you get your clearances good there. Put some anti-seize on the threads. I would say that this big one here is a lock nut, so that's not an issue. You'll also notice I got the side stand sticking out. Gee, why is that, Mr. Wizard? Well, Billy, I'll tell you, because you put a jack under the engine so that you can get those bolts out and get everything to come apart easily and go back together easily. So you put the jack under there, it takes the weight off the engine and the mounts and stuff like that. So anyway, you have to move the side stand out to get some clearance under there, but that's why it's there. And tighten everything up, put it back together, put that exhaust pipe back on, and we're good to go. But not a huge job, but it can be a little fussy getting that ISO mount inside the tube. But there you go. Anyway, thanks for watching.